Man, me too. Well, Dave, listen, without further delay, I'm going to get the phone ringing, and we're going to get Jeff Neal on the line. As I said earlier, he's the head MMA coach with Carlson Gracie Team up there in Chicago. And
hello, this is Jeff.
Hey, good evening, Jeff. This is Big Perm with UMOR. How are you tonight?
Oh, I'm great. How are you?
Oh, man, I'm alive and kicking. I'm doing well, brother. I'm just sitting here with my co-host, Dave the Butcher Clifford. We're just bullshitting about the world of MMA. Dave, you with us?
Yeah, I'm here, and it's a pleasure to have you on, Jeff. And we always enjoy talking to coaches and finding out about up-and-coming talent and what kind of stuff you got going on and how big that part of the sport's getting, because it really is the entry level. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, listeners, for those of you that don't know who Jeff Neal is, Jeff's the head MMA coach at Carlson Gracie for the Carlson Gracie Team. You're up in Chicago, right?
Yes, we've got 5 main locations around the area: downtown Chicago, Maryville, Indiana, Aurora/Naperville, Schaumburg, and Shanahan. So yeah, we spread out. And we have over 1,000 members.
Now, do you yourself? Do you move around to all 5, or is there like one location where you work at?
I do the Aurora, Naperville, and the Maryville, Indiana, because that's where the bulk of the MMA is. I work with the sport. Jason Sullins is the head sport coach, and I'm the head MMA coach. So there's more sport-oriented in Schaumburg, and then so he splits his time between Schaumburg and Aurora. So we got a whole system down. Brian Bishop splits between Shanahan and Aurora. Steve Colon, MMA coach out in Maryville. So if you look at the instructor page, it's quite an amazing list of coaches. ChicagoMMAtraining.com is our website.
Oh, awesome. And anybody in the area should go check that out, especially in that southern Michigan, Indiana area. It's really not too far to go. And, we all know that any investment in travel time to go learn from new people is always worth it as an amateur or a budding professional fighter.
Yeah, most definitely.
And we're really happy to have you doing what you're doing down there. Now, it's kind of cool. I live in northern Michigan, so I hear about these towns because I live in a resort town, so a lot of Illinois patrons come up.
Oh, okay.
And of course, Aurora always reminds me of Wayne and Garth. And
yeah, even though most of the scenes were shot in Chicago, yeah, that's Aurora. That's the same Aurora, Illinois. Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome, man. So getting back to it, so as a coach, and you're the MMA coach, do you handle everything from training to arranging fights and cornering? What's your scene like down there? You said you have 1,000 members team-wide. How many MMA, and what do you do? How does your week usually go?
Well, it breaks down as far as, I would say about 70% of the team competes sport and around 20% MMA. So we have ones who haven't competed yet, but about 200. And so I've taken people from the beginning, from their first day to their first fight, to their first pro fight, to coaching on pay-per-view. So I take it all levels. As head of MMA coach, my dream was always to get a good coaching staff with me so I can assign certain things. Like I was doing striking takedowns in the Jiu-Jitsu a lot in the 90s. Now I delegate responsibility. Just like, say, like a head football coach would, you'd have maybe your offensive coach, your defensive coach, training coaches. So I assemble the training camp and put people to the right groups and organize training partners. So I'm full service, everything from I'll take guys on the first day from MMA all the way to coach them live.
Now, do you guys involve, just like now, any big team nowadays, and if you watch, like, of course, on YouTube or television when they go into these big gyms out in, let's say, New Mexico and Nevada and stuff, here in the Midwest, do you guys include nutrition and consulting and, all that goes along with it, too?
Yeah, the complete package here. We have Anthony Monahan is our team dietitian. So that's included for all fighters, and whether it's sport or mixed martial arts, is included in the tuition, and they consult with him, and myself as far as all the weight cuts and things like that. But he's a higher authority with that. I've learned over the years. In the old days when people would eat lettuce and go in the sauna for 2 weeks, and that's totally wrong. You shouldn't really go in the sauna until the day of or maybe the day before. You can keep your water intake high, your nutrition high, and then then cut for 2 days, and that's a lot better because with the 24-hour rehydration, you do it right, you're going to be as stronger than before you started the cut. And a lot of guys end up doing it wrong and come out weak. So we hit it from every angle, from sports psychology to all the nutrition to the best coaching staff that we have really around us in surrounding states. So that's why so many people come to us from other camps.
You yourself, you also fought, correct?
Yeah, in the early days when gloves were illegal.
Well, and that's what I wanted to get at was, can you tell us a little bit about your past and your past experiences that puts you in the position, to be the guy who you are today, coaching some of the best fighters in MMA?
Okay, well, I started the quick story of it. I started in 1981, judo and taekwondo, started competing, and worked on actually amateur boxing and everything. So I had 13 years before the UFC hit, and then when I saw Royce, and I'm like, hey, this is like judo, except he doesn't stand that way. They're not standing in grip fighting. He's adjusted and adapted what looked like judo to me to MMA, and of course judo comes from jiu-jitsu ultimately anyway. And so I thought, I like this. I talked to my judo coach. I said, what do you think if I went out to California, spend a little time training the Gracies? And he gave me great advice. He said, well, watch what they, let's do what they teach, but watch what they do when they spar. Because some coaches, they like to, they don't really want to expose all the techniques. And here we give everything. So I remember that advice, and I looked, and they were teaching everything as they were doing it when they sparred. And I would train 2 hours in the morning, spar the coaches, and then train 2 hours in the afternoon, spar the coaches for 5 weeks. Came back, fell in love with it. And one thing led to some MMA was going on. First MMA here in Chicago was 1994. There was an 8-man tournament of Pat Miletich won. It was a Battle of the Masters. And Pat had, the kickboxing experience, boxing, wrestling, and jiu-jitsu, so he was kind of one of the first complete packages at that time.
A real hybrid. Yeah, he really did great. Go ahead.
Yeah, he was winning through striking, taking the guys down, and if he was losing the strike, and he would take them down. So, I consider myself always, even though I'm most famous for being a third-degree black belt from the Carlson Gracie Team, I've always considered myself well-rounded. So I got involved, and the rules kept changing, and one thing led to another. I remember the first rules meeting I was at, somebody says, okay, so groin strikes are legal? And they're like, yeah. And the promoter said, quote, if you want to reach inside the cup and squeeze, you can do that. I'm like, wow, this is crazy. And a matter of fact, a couple of years later, Gary Goodrich did that to Pedro Rizzo in Brazil.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah,
right.
This is a crazy business, I'm telling you. And I wouldn't trade anything in the world. I love it. I've never had to grow up. Music and martial arts.
I tell you what.
Same thing I do now. So.
In my short time, I'm primarily a ring announcer by trade, and I work every weekend. And right now, I'm in the trenches most of the time, just doing amateur shows and at nightclubs and ballrooms. And I've done some King of the Cage stuff and a couple of pro shows, and I've worked in the Quad Cities a little bit. And you're right, dude. It's so awesome. You don't have to grow up. At the very least, my job is a fucking vacation. It's so great, and everybody loves each other so much. Regardless of what we're there for. And it's unspoken. If you say it, you're going to get punched. But, the truth of the matter is it's like that. And we find each other, wherever the fuck we are. I mean, I can, and I'll tell you, it is a small community still. Because I'll be in places where nobody's going to know who the fuck I am. I'm just an amateur ring announcer that's done a couple of pro shows here and there. People will come up and be like, hey, you're the Butcher. I'm like, what? I'm like, thank you, but and we've interviewed a lot of big names, and it's a pleasure to have guys that have been here since the beginning. Because I wasn't. I'm brand new. I'm 5 years in the business. I was a wrestling fan and a meat cutter, and just worked out. And it's so awesome to know that I really do fit in. You know what I mean, man? And continue. You're talking. It was about '94. You were saying Chicago first pro shows. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, but I got involved in '96, and I just kept moving forward. And in the original days, there was no time limits, and the corners couldn't stop it, and the ref couldn't stop it. The corners did. And then it was so crazy because we were actually doing this in this like Catholic gymnasium, so it was kind of like a fundraiser for the Catholic Church, and it was called a martial art demonstration. And so this was going on for years and years, and finally got busted because it was. It was the Battle of the Masters and the Chicago Challenges, and then it kept happening, and all of a sudden, somehow it got busted, and bam, illegal. But luckily, Indiana was letting everything go, so we were going to Indiana, Wisconsin and stuff. Then it became legal again in Illinois. And kind of to fast forward, I started working with Stephan Bonner in 1999. To give you an example of how I started with somebody from the beginning, Stephan said, what would I need to do to fight MMA? Or at that time it was called No Holds Barred, NHB, Ultimate Fighting. Then MMA came later. And I said, well, here's the formula. Okay, he wrestled a little bit, so that was good in high school. And I said, okay, I'm going to do a couple jiu-jitsu tournaments. If you can keep your head, getting submitted, or guys trying to submit you and you do good, we'll keep going. Then we'll get you a couple boxing matches. And if you handle yourself mentally well in the boxing matches, then we'll go MMA. That's the best route. If a guy can't handle himself mentally in a jiu-jitsu match, he has no business going with kicks, punches, knees, and elbows at his head. Then, if a guy can handle boxing, say maybe the guy gets hit once and turns his head, we got to get him worked out. We don't put a guy straight to MMA. We have him go. Or if a guy has wrestling experience, like I've got some great wrestlers. I have working with Illinois' top wrestler, top win record history, the guys like this. I don't need them to do a grappling tournament. I said, okay, let's get some. You got the grappling time in. Let's get you some work boxing, and then move it from there. Like one of our top up-and-comers now, Matt Shapiro. He's got over 300 wrestling matches. And I don't need to test him out in sport jiu-jitsu because he's already grappled. And his jiu-jitsu is very, very high-level blue right now. And he's doing great boxing. He's 1-0 in boxing. Then we put him in MMA. He's 3-0. But he's got so much experience. We're trying to get him to turn pro now and fight Bellator in December.
Oh, awesome. See, and that's the way to go. You see, you just can't throw wrestlers in there anymore. You got to have them ready. You got to do some boxing. And you're lucky to have that where you're at. I mean, I live in a rural area, and a lot of these guys, if they go boxing, they're not allowed to do anything else because the boxing coaches are like strictly Golden Gloves, and they hate MMA,
Right.
Some of the best boxing coaches don't want their guys fighting MMA because they want them for Golden Gloves, because that's what they, they still cling to that, which I respect. I mean, I've done some USA boxing events. I mean, never before have I been instructed on how to announce somebody before. They told me exactly what I had to do. I was like, what? I was like, you motherfuckers want me to trim my nails too, or what? You know what I'm saying? I was like, what is this? I respectfully did what they said. And I, of course, I enjoy talking shit behind the scenes and afterwards and beforehand, but while I'm there, a consummate professional, of course. And
well, believe me, I'm a USA certified boxing coach. I've coached Golden Gloves, amateur level. And believe me, I'd sit in these meetings, especially years ago, and they didn't, they knew me from boxing, they didn't know, they're not following MMA, they didn't know I was an MMA coach, and this is years ago. And one guy said, MMA is blasphemy. I'm like, what? They were so frightened and intimidated by MMA because, I don't know why. I've loved boxing since the 70s when I was a kid, but the boxing community really hated us, and it's because they were threatened. The fights are more exciting, and the matches, it's really more clear who wins. Matter of fact, we even had a problem with Stephan Bonner. So as I mentioned, I said we're getting some boxing matches. He started doing well, so he entered the Golden Gloves, and he won as a novice, which is 10 fights or less. So then you automatically go open, which is the advanced division. The next year he wins the open, and now he's going to the nationals. And they don't like MMA guys, so they find out it's MMA, so they threaten that you can't, you're not going to fight, you're an MMA, this is illegal. So then got Fox News involved. Walter Jacobson, for what I was told, was ready to do a story on them. Why is it a problem with Stephan? He's an MMA fighter. Why is he not going to be able to compete? So once the heat came on, everything backed off. He got past the first fighter, the second fighter, and then he lost in the third. So Stephan had a real strong boxing, especially when I helped Mitch for this guy. His cross and hook are like being kicked by a mule. He's changed his style and he's got Muay Thai, but he was real strong before he got into MMA. His boxing was going really well. He went past two guys in the nationals, so he's solid. He hit so hard. Sometimes you can't see power all the way. Like every coach has to hold mitts to know where that power is. You can see good form, but man, you start holding for a guy, and you feel something like Stephan's cross and hook, and his jab was no joke either.
I'll tell you what. You know how I can tell in the back room is by what kind of pads they use and how they look and how some of the guys that hold mitts will wrap their hands underneath the fucking mitts when they're warming their guys up.
Oh, and the guys get that
yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, like Rick Lamas, it's so hard. Ricardo Lamas, everybody calls him nowadays, but Rick Lamas hits so damn hard. Just like from the beginning when I started working with him in 2008. He had a head coach. So I head coach people. I also work with other fighters. like I say, a head coach, you want to bring it to me maybe for my expertise. I say most of what, aside from the overall MMA game, is MMA Jiu-Jitsu, because it's not like sport. So many people are doing sport Jiu-Jitsu, and then there's an MMA style, which I learned from Carlson Gracie Sr. You know, it's a lot different. The positions, you see, guys, you know, the pure sport guys, they can't do that anymore. They come in, they get their head pounded in. So,
well,
you know,
Jeff, you besides training at the gyms, you guys also do seminars. I mean, you guys take this knowledge on the road, and actually, you know, do seminars around the country. And if I'm not mistaken, you got one coming up in the Quad Cities here soon, don't you?
Yeah, actually, Nick Tarpin's Martial Arts Center. It's in Davenport, Iowa. For more information, you can go on to jeffneal-mma.com, and that's Neal, N-E-A-L, jeffneal-mma.com, and that's got all the information, address, times. But that's going to be September 30th.
September 30th at Nick Tarpin's up in Davenport. All right, cool.
Yep. I'm going to cover gi, no gi, and one of my other specialties, judo for jiu-jitsu, because that's got to be adjusted. Just like things you do for MMA, you have to adjust your judo for jiu-jitsu. So,
well, and also with you being doing judo and understanding that sport, and then teaming up with Carlson Gracie, you know, what was it like working with Carlson Gracie?
It was amazing. I had 13 years on and off of judo before I saw the first UFC, and I was just like, it was amazing because I love fighting. I love the rush and the extreme, and the lack of rules was so appealing to me. So it all started working with Carlson as and I started in 94, and then 96 I had an opportunity to have Carlson Gracie Jr. come up because we were in contact with Senior, because I was training with one of Senior's fighters. And Senior said, well, maybe we could do my second school, because at that time Senior had Rio de Janeiro, L.A., and I thought maybe Chicago could be his third and final location. Then he sent Junior here, and then Carson thought it'd be kind of tough for him to move at this point. So he had Junior moved here full-time, Carlson Gracie Jr. in 1996, and then we started training. Senior would come back and forth. Other black belts were in town. Victor Belfort, I liked working with Angel Manfredi, boxing coach and former lightweight champ of the world. He's in the Chicago area.
Yeah, oh yeah.
He would obviously train his jiu-jitsu, with our guys, and then Amri Batechi, Validi, Ishmael, all the old legends were coming through in the 90s, so that was a great experience for me. And then
talk about experience, man. Those are like the best of the best.
Yeah, and so matter of fact, for Chicago Challenge 4, I worked with the Carson Sr. was out in California, so I got to actually work and do my training camp. My sparring partners, Alan Gauze and Hey Diogo, they were both. I was 220 pounds, they were about 210, and it was amazing to feel that kind of weight, because we have black belts in Chicago, but they're 180, 170, 160, but to work 210 pounds with that phenomenal technique was incredible, for my training, and to work with these guys, were just, again, they're legends. And at that time, we're living legends, so I was very fortunate to be exposed to world level, grappling, and a judo coach. I was a candidate and alternate in the Olympics for Korea, so I got started with world-class grappling in 1981.
Well, and
then Senior moved here. Oh, I'm sorry. Carlson Gracie Sr. moved here in 2001. And at that time, Stefan, I think it might have been his third fight when Carson got here. And then I started work with him because I was still planning to fight. I had some injuries I was working through. And then working with Senior as a student was fantastic. People have this image, you said, like he's a hard-nosed General Patton. And he is when he's coaching, but he was such a funny guy and a great coach and so dedicated to his students. He would give anything, shirt off his back. I've even seen him at events. Hey, I like your shirt, Carlson. Nice to meet you. Carlson, okay. Carlson, give me a shirt. Okay, give me your shirt. Unbelievable, nice guy.
That's where Romero got it, dude. Mike Romero from Booyah does that all the time. He taught us that, man. I still do that to this day. That's a tradition that got passed down, brother.
Awesome.
Straight up.
Then as a coach, I got to learn from Carson also his styles. Like you'll mention his training methods, hardcore training methods, and I got to do that. And then I got to as coaching alongside him, that now doing these things today, like crazy drills. Like Carson, I've never seen things broken down so much. Like say you start in a triangle. All right, start full triangle when he says go, and that guy's got to put that D on, or he's going to be asleep in 4 seconds. Then we'll go with the triangle on maybe a quarter of the way, because then there's a different defense. Go. Then the triangle on halfway. Then the triangle on, say, 3/4. And then the triangle when it's in the diamond position. breaking down. He broke things down better than I've had any fight coach or jiu-jitsu coach I ever saw. It was basically like, the philosophy when I still tell people this day when I explain the training methods I'm using from senior, look, pro football players in practice, they don't play a game. They're breaking everything down, breaking it down into, say, 2-minute drill. Say you're on the goal line, so everything's broken down in practice, and that's what this was. You do so much drilling. So a lot of people, if you just spar and not break down into positional sparring, you might not have your back taken much, but if you're doing back drills every week, you're always fresh. Triangle drills, escape drills. A coach is doing the things that aren't the most fun things to do, fundamentals. Have a guy smash your head from the cross side and try to get out. Then 30-second drills where both are losing. You're both losing here. Top guy, you got to get superior position, ground and pound. Bottom guy, you're going to have to recompose to get some offense here. You're both losing. 30 seconds go. Being real intense drills. And I can tell you, I had a good fortune of being able to sit and watch practices from our world team for wrestling, the guys, Olympians, and the people getting ready for the trials. I know one thing I noticed with them, and when the top level versus a lower level wrestlers, and one thing I've noticed with top world level fighters, champions not, and then world level jiu-jitsu fighters, is when you say like 10 seconds left, the best in the world go twice as hard. The ones that aren't the best in the world, will not have the greatest work ethic, they'll sit there and they'll get through the 10 seconds. Get through the 10
wait
seconds.
for the bell.
You're never going to see that from like Rick Lamas or Darren Elkins. Those guys are viciously training in the gym, and they hate to lose, love to win, and that's it. You're not supposed to hate, but I tell you what, hate drives and love drives. Hate to lose, love to win. Someone's got to push you. You say you're doing sport jiu-jitsu, you got 6 matches to win first place. What's going to drive you when you're half dead? You go, I got silver, that was okay. You got to hate to lose, you got to love to win.
That's it.
Well, and Jeff,
it's true.
You talked a bit about Stephan Bonner earlier. You were in the corner with his fight with Machida. What was it like being in the corner of that fight?
Yeah, funny story. That's the semi-famous Amazon story. A lot of seminar people have heard. What happened was Stephan had their first jungle fight. So they had Stephan versus Machida. We didn't know him at that point, and just knew that he was good. And so we flew down to Brazil, Rio, for 5 days so we could get used to the heat. I think it was in September, actually. So went down there, trained 5 days, and then went to Amazon. Manaus is the capital, and we didn't really have any instruction. Luckily, I speak enough Portuguese to get by. I can speak slow and they can understand me, but I can't understand them when they go nuts. Talking,
they don't fast.
So we end up getting to Manaus. We land. So then they tell us, they point for us to go. I'm like, okay, we don't know what's going on. And then, so we get a bus. All right, we get a bus. No explanation, no itinerary, nothing. So we get in this bus. We go to this beautiful resort. Now we're at this resort. I go, man, they're really taking care of us stuff, and this is first class. So now we're standing there. We're standing there about 30 minutes in the heat. Then they point to us to go to the boat. Mark Schultz, Olympic gold medalist, was fighting that night on that card as well. And so at least we had 2 other Americans we could speak to. So now we go to this boat, and this is like Enter the Dragon, no lie. We're in this boat in the Amazon River for 2 hours with no sign of human life. Just there, nothing. Now,
like a documentary.
Yeah, so I thought, you know what, I'm going to get a tan. So I'm getting a tan, and Steph was like, man, you're getting red, just the Amazon. So, okay, so I go under to get some cover. Now they take us to this place. They didn't say anything. It was 2 hours, 2-hour boat ride. We get to this, not even a venue, it's this place built on stilts above the Amazon River. And I'm like, man, what is this place? This is so primitive. So we go there, and we get in. We get our room key. There's bugs flying all over us. It's totally insane. Man. We get into our room, and I just checking it out, checking out the shower. I go, Stephan, I think there's a black widow in here. And he goes, does it have an hourglass? Look like an hourglass? I go, yeah, but I'm not sure. And he looks at it and he goes, we got to kill it. I'm like, well, you're fighting in 2 days. I'll take the risk. I'll kill it. You just stay back. So you could lose the coach, but you can't lose the fighter. So that's the kind of dedication I have. So I take my shoe.
Hardcore.
I said, Stephan, do black widows jump? Because I know some spiders jump. He's like, I don't know. So I take my shoe and I throw it and I miss it. The thing wasn't even scared. So I take my other shoe, I get a little closer, and I just kill it like 10 times, and then flush it down the toilet. I'm like, oh my God. He wanted to rest, so I went to lunch or breakfast. They just had everything was kind of buffet style, and then so I'm coming out of breakfast, and now the first wave of Japanese people came because they sold. There was only two. It was just like a quick made place where they're putting a ring, and then 100 seats sold to Brazilians, 100 seats for the Japanese. So I'm coming down the stairs as these Japanese come up, and all of a sudden I hear a big commotion. I look down. There's a giant tarantula in between the door where they can get their room keys and the Japanese. And the maintenance guy runs. The maintenance guy runs. There's a giant tarantula. It's like being in a zoo, except that the humans are the animals, and there's no cage.
He ran away?
He ran away? The tarantula stays there, and I'm like, oh, I'm not moving. You can't touch the rails because there's spiders all over it. So the tarantula, one of the guys from Japan takes a broom and swats at it. It doesn't even move. So he swats at it again, and then the spider gets himself real small and goes under the boards. Then they're all one of the guys goes into the bathroom, which has no roof, and a macaw goes after him.
Jeez.
I'm like, this place is nuts.
Oh, my God.
So then Stephen comes out, and so I go back there, and me and Stephen go back, and it's time for lunch. We go there, and 3 monkeys charge at us. 3 monkeys, like those spider monkeys, the one in Outbreak or whatever it is. So,
oh, shit.
So, oh, man, they're full charge. They're about, say, maybe 50 feet away. They charge.
Oh my God!
I go back in my stance. I figure I'm gonna left hook this thing, right? The first one is the left hook. And Stephen pulls out his camera. One of them stops about 25 feet away. The other one stops 10 feet away. The other one stops about 5 feet in front of Stephen, and he snaps a picture. I'm sure he still got it to this day. I'm like, this place is nuts. This is totally crazy. And then it's like we're gonna sleep at night. You know, to say we shared a room. I'm like, man, do we put a light on? Because then it's like a bug light. All the bugs will come in. Or do we sleep in the dark and then not know what the heck's around us? So, and I know some of my military guys, you know, that I've trained, you know, they tuck their pants into their boots so nothing climbs in there. So it was incredible. It was incredible. And then,
dude, I would not have slept. I can't fuck with spiders.
I barely slept in it at all. Then it comes time for the fight. So they point us to the room, you know, the back room is the same, you know, everywhere. They put a mat down for you. So now we're going to walk into the Amazon where it's dark. This thing, there was a loop of a bridge that went 2 miles into the Amazon. So scientists go there and study stuff. So we had to walk, and I'm like, okay, here we go. It's dark out now. We're the first ones in there. We're the first ones in the back room. For anybody who doesn't know what it's like, it's the same local, UFC, everything. They put a mat down, and that's it, and you got water and stuff. There's nothing real fancy. You know, and then the big shows will have a monitor so you can watch what's going on.
Once in a while you get some fruit, some nasty-ass fruit with flies on it.
Oh, exactly. So
or cold pizza, cold motherfucking pizza. Go ahead.
We walk in, me and Stephen walk in the back room, you know, get warmed up. There's a damn tarantula on the mat. Another tarantula.
Oh, my God.
So I get walking out, and Vali Ishmael is helping Inoke, you know, with the promotion there. And he speaks enough English, and I speak enough Portuguese where we can communicate. And he's like, man, you guys got to go back there. You go back there. I go, well, there's a tarantula on the mat. Okay, train there. So they get someone to get it out there. Then we're all training. We're all warming up. And a lot of famous guys fought that night. Jacare, Cyborg, and Machida, Stefan, Mark Schultz. So it was a great night. And you know,
it almost ended before it got started.
Yeah, it was Stefan. Machida started breathing through his mouth a little bit later. Stefan, he had the advantage. Machida had the advantage early in the first round, and I would say Stefan was getting the advantage. He was finding his cross and everything, and then, of course, the cut was much worse than what you see on TV. It was really big, and I told Stefan, hey, man, Stefan's pissed. I go, look, when you see how big this cut is, man, it's the ref's making the right call. You're not screwed here. So that's that, and then he got stitched up, and that was that, but that's my little Amazon story, short version. It was crazy. I'd never go back there again unless I have an air-conditioned spacesuit or something.
Fuck no. I'm never going there.
No doubt. Jeff,
never once. No reason to go back. Take my word.
No, I don't. You know, I can do my visit vicariously through your short version of it. That's enough.
That's all I need.
Well, you can always watch the Anaconda movie with J-Lo and Ice Cube. That doesn't portray very well either with that Anaconda chasing them.
There's one other fighter that you've worked with that I'm kind of interested in. Guy by the name of Miguel Torres. He was just cut by UFC recently and signed with Ray Cefo's World Series of Fighting. What can you tell us about Miguel?
Well, here's how Miguel got on the team. I didn't work with him like I did, like, say, Stefan, like as a main coach. I got him on the team. Basically, it was like this. I saw him fighting. He was like 17 when I saw him fighting. This little guy's good. He's in shape. He's great. He's fighting on some of the cards I'm coaching guys at, and as well as coaching Stefan at. He's on the card. And I was training a couple of his friends in Chicago. And he said, Miguel's got no one to push him in Indiana. I think you should trade here. And I said, well, he'd be welcome, certainly no problem. And then Carlson Sr. then had moved here full-time, 2001. I said, Carlson, there's a couple guys that I think you'd be interested in. We'll see if we can get them on the team, that are fighting when Stefan fights, So he watched two of the guys. He wasn't too impressed with one of them. I won't say his name. And then the other guy was Miguel. So then we got in touch with Miguel through his friends and said, come on down. Be more than happy to, work with you, get you good work. And then so Senior was real nice, and he started just giving Miguel, like, white belts. And I'm like, Carlson, man, give him Mishu, man. This guy's a brown belt. Give him somebody good. He goes, no, friend. And his broken English friend. He wants to show that we're not trying to, make him look bad. He wants to show his friends. And so I said, he's not going to train here, Carlson, if we just give him beginner white belts. For friend stuff, it's beyond that. We got everything's good. And then so I said, Miguel, I'll get you good work next time. So he comes in, and then he comes in, and then same thing, beginner white belts. And I'm like, Carlson, this guy's not going to stay here. He was just trying to be nice. And then he started giving him good guys and got Miguel good work. And then that was 2001, and then worked steadily there till 2006. And Senior passed away. So I worked with him as far as getting him there and maybe helping in some group classes, but I didn't actually sit there and train him like, say, with Elkins and Lamas and some other guys, like Lance Serma, another Bellator fighter. That's a little different. So I don't want to try to take credit. Give credit where credit's due.
Well, guys, that bell there signified our 2-minute warning. So we got about 2 minutes left with Mr. Neal tonight. So far, man, I've had a blast talking with you, Jeff.
Yeah, it's great. Great sharing these stories with you guys.
The one question that we always like to ask our guests, if there was tag team MMA in the USA today, they have it over in Japan and a few other places. Who would you, what 4 fighters would you put in there? Who would you team up against who?
Well, if it was me, it'd be me and Anderson Silva.
Yeah.
And if I was coaching, they'd let me coach him, Anderson Silva and Minotauro. That would be my choice. That would be great. There's so many great fighters out there, GSP.
Who would you put Anderson and Minotauro against?
Like a dream matchup, or I guess GSP, and you have to get John Jones in there too. There's so many great ones, but that would be a.
There you go.
Rules now? They can tag in. They got 3 seconds to double team somebody, or what's the deal?
Pride rules.
That'll be a lot of
Pride
fun.
rules, baby.
Pride rules. Thank you. I missed the soccer kicks and stuff.
Fantastic.
Yeah, well, they're back. They're back in 1FC for sure. Our boy Phil Baroni just got a win over there.
Excellent.
In Manila.
Phil. Always a very colorful character.
Well,
he's on it.
Fight, ended in a little bit of a debacle with, that catch rule that they had at the time, and that's why they switched to the Pride rules.
Well, we still got you on, Jeff. I'd like to give you a chance to put all your websites out there. Anything you got coming up that you'd like to shoot out for our listeners, brother?
Sure, thank you. Anybody in the Chicago area, like I mentioned, we have 5 gyms. Anybody looking for group classes, private lessons, ChicagoMMAtraining.com. ChicagoMMAtraining.com. Check out the instructor list. Check out all the credentials. It's a really insane amount of talent. Anybody interested in me for seminar info or to bring me out for seminars, jeffneal-MMA.com. And I have a seminar coming up in Davenport at Nick Tarpin's Martial Arts Center, September 30th, 10 to 1.
Nick Tarpin's in Davenport. Don't forget, if you're in the Quad Cities, hit him up, check him out, and go meet Mr. Neal and see what you can learn.
All right.
Well, Jeff, listen, thank you so much again for joining the show tonight, man. We wish you continued success in everything you do. And if I can make it up to the Quad Cities, I'll just come up just to shake your hand and say hello.
Great. Well, take the workout if you want, or just hang out. That's all cool too.
Awesome.
I'll tell you what, if you ever need an announcer, Dave the Butcher, I'll travel to Chicago, homie.
Dave the Butcher. I'll put the word out.
That's right. So thank you once again. It was a pleasure talking to you. Great stories. Amazing.
You too, guys. Thanks. I got more.
All right, Jeff, have a great night, bud. Thanks again.
All right. Good
night.
night.
We'll definitely be in touch.
Very good.
See you.
All right.